Open up, Colorado. It's 420. Time to grind and burn.
This is not your son's stoner show.
Welcome to the Cannabis Community Project from the Dang Studios at 3835 Elm Street in Denver, Colorado. It's the Grind and Burn Show.
Hello, good day. Hello, good evening, wherever you are in the world. You're listening to Cannabis Community Project podcast. I'm Kate Mullen. I'm filling in for Brainstorm. We're glad you've joined us, and we would like to welcome you to today's show. We're broadcasting from the beautiful southeast Colorado town of Trinidad, Colorado. My name's Kate Mullen. I'm a publicist, I'm a writer, I'm an activist for the cannabis industry, and right now I am passionate about what you're doing as a cannabis entrepreneur, as a cannabis business person, or someone that has questions about getting into the cannabis business. You know, you don't have to grow marijuana to get in the cannabis business. You don't have to grow hemp to get in the cannabis business. There's a lot of things that are ancillary businesses to getting into the cannabis business. As you know, towns, they grow, they get dispensaries, they're going crazy. You need more infrastructure. You need more hotels. You need more restaurants. You need more bakeries. You need all of these things. What else goes along with that? How do you get to a crowd that is interested in the cannabis industry but doesn't know where to begin?
Have you checked out the Cannabis Community Store? Check it out on the website. We have products from our sponsors and more. Only cannabis-related products. www.cannabiscommunitystore.com.
Hi, this is Wayne.
Now, what does your parents think of what you're doing?
That was an interesting conversation at first. Now they're on board with it, which is really funny. But at first, you know, his son goes off to engineering school, and, you know, that makes your father proud. And then you have this conversation, well, I left my job, and now here's what I'm going to do next. It was interesting at first. They were very hesitant, very suspicious of it. But as, you know, I started talking to them more, and they asked me, they were picking apart the business model and plan and all that. And as I was answering all those questions, I think they got a lot more comfortable with, you know, the decisions I was making. And, okay, well, obviously you've thought about this, and you're not just kind of going off the rails here.
What's the age gap between you and your parents?
They had me when they were pretty young. So I think my mom was 19 and my father was 22. Okay. So they're about 20 years.
So, yeah, relatively young in that sense. Do you think that is a contributing factor to the acceptance and working with you on it?
Yeah, probably. That's probably one factor. It could also be, you know, the location or the culture of just where we grew up. Being in the Midwest, we grew up in rural country, so, you know, we weren't even in the city, and most people smoked pot. I mean, my mom's brothers and sisters did. I'm pretty sure they did.
Are they very liberal themselves?
No, not really. Like, when we were growing up, my mom's story was, I smoked pot one time, and then I failed all my tests, and I never did it again. Story she spun, yeah. And then I talked to my dad more about it recently, and I guess, yeah, he never really tried it. He's more conservative. So they're not really liberal parents, but I think when they try to ask me as many questions as possible and see if they can find any gaps in my thinking, and I have those bases covered, they were on board with it.
What is their professions?
So neither one went to college, and they both worked their way up pretty high on the professional ladder. My dad now is vice president of operations for a commercial construction company. So basically he's done construction his whole life. And then my mom is inside Dow Chemical, which is a pretty large chemical manufacturing company in the Midwest.
Sure.
Well, they're global, but she's kind of worked up the admin side. And until recently, there was some job shifting, but she was the admin directly for the CFO of Dow Corning. So she's worked her way up pretty far up on that side of things, too.
Do you think that's what spawned your initial entrepreneurial spirit, is watching them work from a non-academic standpoint but still work through companies? I mean, what do you attribute your entrepreneurism to?
Yeah, I think so. That was a big part of it, probably. It was always when I was younger. I mean, if I wanted anything, I had to figure out how to get it. There was no, I mean, I think they spent $100 on me at Christmas and $50 on my birthday. Whatever I wanted didn't fit inside those budgets, like go out and figure out how to make it happen. So it was really just growing up, you know, with low income. You know, we weren't poor and in poverty, but we definitely didn't have extra means by any stretch. So I think it was that combination of things. And, I grew up in kind of a middle-class area, so some people had more, some people had less, and I had friends that had more, and I just knew that, going snowboarding or doing something like that, well, if I want to do that, I got to figure out how to make the money to do it. Even when I was young, it was always, lawn mowing business. I was trying to do eBay for a while when I was a teenager. So I was always trying to come up with ways and schemes to figure things out, and so it was probably a big part of it.
When did the scheme of cannabis come about? I mean, did you go into college thinking I'm going to study so I can start a cannabis business?
No, not at all. Actually, it's really right time, right place. I was working that job after college for about 5 years, doing a lot of traveling and, made a nice salary. But like I said, always thought that I wanted to start a business and try to make it on my own. So in the process of working with that job, I actually met one of my customers. Him and his wife were starting a property management business and asked if I wanted to join them. So 3 partners started a property management business, and we had plans to cover the state of Oregon and then possibly move outside of Oregon. That's what actually led me to quit my job, my corporate job, was to start that business. And so I did that for about a year, and that started to fall apart, just, poor communication, the partnership wasn't working out. So when that failed, I was kind of in a position where either I could go back to work for someone else, or I still had enough money in my savings that I could try to start another business. And I had my medical card for about 3 years at that point. So I've been in, and I traveled a lot. So I've been into quite a few dispensaries and, kind of seen what the scene was like and, was a normal user of cannabis. And I was looking around and it's like, man, if you want to start another business, the cannabis industry is the place to do it right now. And then I looked around and just kind of did some research and realized edibles was the lowest overhead. A retail shop is a lot of capital investment, a grow operation. I didn't have the knowledge or the capital for that. And so that's kind of what led me into the edible business, as it was took the least amount of money to start, kind of went at it from there. And I was, about a year and a half ago when I started that.
Nice. Well, if you like property management in cannabis, let me do a shameless plug real quick. I just invested in a company, Greenleaf Investment Fund. I just bought 1,000 shares of their stock because they're crowdfunding right now, and that's what they do. They're buying property that they're going to lease and manage to cannabis companies across the U.S. So let me give a shameless plug to them since I just bought in. Everybody else should go buy in. All right. Anyways, Let me move on.
Yeah, that was the recent podcast, right? Was that the guy you had on?
Yeah, a few weeks ago. Yeah. Douglas.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, it was interesting. Check those guys out.
Douglas DeSanti. Yeah, I just did the funding in the escrow literally 2 days ago. So I am now officially vested in the Greenleaf Investment Fund, cannabis property management. But let me jump back to your overhead, because I'm curious, if all you do is the edibles, where are you getting your flower from, or how are you making your edibles? Is it from flower, from oil, concentrate? What is your process, and where do you acquire?
So we do all of our caramels with canna butter. So we don't use any distillates, BHO, anything like that. So we make our own canna butter, the old school method, crock pot. Well, we've moved up to oven roasters now, so we're doing a little bit larger scale. We source trim from different growers. We've got a couple of good relationships. Over the past year and a half, I've probably worked with, 10, 20 different growers, the old school networking methods, calling around, asking people. And then now we've got it down to about 2 different growers that we work with who have a nice consistent supply for us. And we buy trim from them, and then we infuse it into butter before we make the caramels.
2017. Have you started your business yet? Have you thought about your cannabis idea? Don't hesitate until next year. Email me at brainstorm@cannabiscommunityproject.com.
You'll know this Puff Magic Dragon, he lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist, land called Honolulu, and little Jaggy Paper, he loved Rascal Puff, and brought him strings and sealing wax and other fancy stuff. Oh, Puff, the magic dragon, he frolicked in the autumn in land called Honolulu. Together they would travel on a boat with billow sail. Jackie kept a lookout perched on Puff's gigantic tail. Oh no, kings and princes would bow whene'er they came. Pirate ships would lower their flags when Puff roared out his name. Oh, Puff, the magic dragon, he lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist, that land called Honolulu. The dragon lives forever, but not so little boys. Painted wings and giant's rings make way for other toys. And one great night it happened, Jackie Paper came no more. Puff, that mighty dragon, yes, ceased his fearless roar. Now Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist, land called Honolulu. And Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea, frolicked in the autumn mist, land called Honolulu.
Today, we have a wonderful guest on Cannabis Community Project. Her name is Diana Oliver. She's the producer-director of 9 Hempsters documentaries. She owns the copyright on the word Hempster, so be aware, all of you people that are using that. And she is one of the most interesting women I've ever met in the cannabis industry. I know Diana personally. She was a fashion model for the same agency that I worked for and has made an amazing transition into documentary filmmaking. So I'd like to welcome you, Diana Oliver, producer-director of Hempsters Documentaries.
Hello. Thank you so much. You're such an awesome everything, Kate Mullen. We love you.
Oh, God love you. Well, you're a very interesting person yourself, and I know a funny story about you, but I'm going to let you tell it. Give us an idea of how you came into being as Diana Oliver, filmmaker.
Okay, well, my mother's from Texas, relocated to Anaheim, and we're talking the 50s, and my dad's from Arkansas, fresh from leaving the Army, and they actually met at the Cow Palace in San Francisco at a Johnny Cash concert, and it was a regular occurrence on the weekends. They would go there to dance, and all the guys would wearing suits and drinking from flasks, and all the girls dancing in the middle, and, you know, everything was seemingly, I wish I grew up back then because my parents are still together. They're pretty awesome. And, I was born in Sacramento, so I guess I'm really a California girl. Both my sisters, Brenda and Lorna, were born there, and then we all came back to Texas.
Now you're a Texas farm girl.
Yes, I live in Texas. My parents have a farm, but I'm hoping to be a hemp farmer this year. The first hemp bill was introduced in Texas this year. Very exciting. And I've been following, fighting, and documenting the fight to legalize and grow industrial hemp. This is my 19th year, Kate. It's crazy.
Wow, that is amazing. You're a beautiful woman and you're very accomplished, and I know that your background started in fashion. How did you make the transition from fashion to a cannabis activist?
Well, I was a model in New York for Wilhelmina 2 years, from like 18 to 21, and I was house sitting a penthouse for a millionaire, total gentleman, taking care of a dog and a cat, had a 40-story penthouse for 2 years, and then when he went to get married and had to find my own place, and moved in with a model and her boyfriend and got everything stolen within like 3 weeks, and I was like, I don't think I like New York City anymore. I think I want to be an actor. So I decided to come back to Texas, and of course my parents flew me home and rescued me, and I came back to Dallas, and I studied with the acclaimed Adam Roark from Easy Rider. Incredible man, incredible actor, incredible teacher, and he was doing really groundbreaking things back then. Your acting class was recorded, and you were able to watch yourself back and critique, and he was really one of the first acting coaches to implement this, and we're talking the 80s. I then went to SMU a couple of years with a private tutor because I couldn't afford the tuition. Gail Cronauer, she's an incredible teacher, and then I decided to go to Hollywood, and I knew one of the actors in The Three Amigos, and I knew one person, and off I went, and I stayed with them in Melrose Avenue, and then found a place to house sit, which is sort of my known way to live in a fabulous place for very little money. So for all you aspiring actors and actresses, it's a wonderful thing to know, and you can connect with like-minded people and live very well instead of the poverty level. So I'm studying acting, and I actually first met Woody Harrelson because my best friend, Robin Hathaway, who's a chef, she was Prince's private chef at the time, and I was a struggling actress, and I went to work for Prince in a restaurant called The Wave in Santa Monica, and she was his private chef. She'd come from Paris, studies also from Texas, via Texas, so we, of course, bonded instantly. And I started working for her and producing art shows for my ex-fiancé, Marco. We were having a lot of success, both in the restaurant, all organic, and really didn't know anything about hemp at the time. I had a friend named Lang, a makeup artist for film and TV, and she was like, hemp this, hemp that, and I was like, I don't know why. It never really just registered. And then there's suddenly a moment where it clicked. And during the same period, I had a family situation happen in Texas, and my parents, they asked me to come home, and I came back to Dallas, and I was sitting at my desk at Media World Television for the famous Ali Bijan, wonderful executive producer, and he said, I'll finance whatever you want to do. I said, I want to do documentaries. I want to help the world, and I'm going to find out how to do it. I was obsessed with trees because one of my grandfathers was a very successful tree farmer or harvester in the timber industry. And then for several years of my life, we lived down in Beaumont, Texas. We had a couple different houses in different areas because of my father's businesses. And the timber industry was huge in East Texas. And I used to just feel such a depression when I'd see these giant log trucks go by. And I didn't know how that was going to affect me from, 13, 14, and then now I'm 27, and all of a sudden I'm sitting at my desk and I get an AP wire that activist Woody Harrelson's planted 4 hemp seeds in a protest, staged the arrest, had CNN film it, and so I started researching hemp, and I literally was like, oh my God, industrial hemp makes pulp, it makes gasoline, it makes concrete, it makes plastic. So I reached out to Woody's team, Joe Hickey in Kentucky, and we were invited out. Director Michael Henning and I, he's my business partner on the first film. That's how I got into industrial hemp and filmmaking all at once, like literally. And I had no idea that following Woody's story, which is planting, his historic planting, which is 19 years. Well, actually, I'm in the industry 20 years. So he actually planted the hemp seeds in 96. So his anniversary for 20 years was this year, and we got involved the following year, or about 6 months, like right when the year turned, whatever. In 1997, Woody Harrelson, we were invited out to compete, basically, for this coveted story. And what Woody did is he plants the 4 hemp seeds. He had staged the rest. CNN was there, all of it. He had no idea, ultimately, that he could actually have gone to jail because this is 96. And 97 is when we all went out to basically compete for the story to follow Woody and the outcome of what was going to occur.
Let me stop you right there. In 1996, Woody Harrelson did a protest where he went out to a field and simply planted 4 hemp seeds, if I recall, in the Beattyville, Kentucky. And though he actually broke, federal law by planting 4 hemp seeds, it was staged and he was not arrested.
No, he staged it by calling the police himself in order to get himself arrested. So he would create a story. If he didn't get arrested, there would be no story. So he staged the entire thing. He risked his name, his celebrity. He really got arrested. And so they arrest him, but he gets out pretty quickly, of course. What he so brilliantly did was staging the arrest brought the press. So CNN covered the story. He had CNN there himself to cover the story, which triggered all the other media and news outlets. Well, unbeknownst to him and everyone else, it was a 7-year period across the board before he was finally actually acquitted. And many times he risked going to jail over those periods, those years.
Simply for planting 4 hemp seeds.
Right, but he is actually what triggered the movement. And then once we were out there with Woody, we spent 10 days, a huge mansion in Kentucky in the bluegrass, where there was a filly born that was $1 million at birth. These were friends of Woody's and some of the Kentucky, I call them the original Kentucky hempsters, and the originals, Craig Lee, Joe Hickey, Alex Graves, Arthur Rouse. I mean, these guys are really mavericks. It's 20 years. It seems like yesterday. But what happened is we spent 10 days out there, many other filmmakers, and we competed, basically. And we got the story, Michael Henning and I, and off we go. Well, Woody's 7-year story, sometimes we'd film 2-3 times a year, maybe once a year. Other things were, we would capture footage from licensing it from the news because it was so far apart, and updates with the trials, we were there, and various things. But during that period, we were introduced to the most amazing Gatewood Galbraith. Oh, let me go back a minute. When I very first became obsessed with hemp, Woody plants the 4 hemp seeds. Within 48 hours of me knowing I was going, I Googled the word hemp, and Jack Herer name comes up. Jack Herer, the emperor, father of hemp. I sent him an email. He said, it's incredible. Someone's finally putting some media to this. I said, Woody plants the 4 hemp seeds. Of course, they were friends. And he sends me an autographed copy of The Emperor Wears No Clothes. And if nobody knows, it's still in print. Yeah, I called it my Bible of hemp. And it had all what was known at the time, historical information of the origin of hemp from China, how it was brought here on ships, and how all the American farmers were growing it. George Washington, all the original founding fathers grew hemp. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, I mean, they were all hemp farmers. And then it was annihilated again, and they had another resurgence during the war. And there's a lot of historic facts that we wouldn't have won the war without industrial hemp, making all the women in the factories. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And then there's the fact that hemp is just this miracle plant that it revitalizes the soil. 1 acre of hemp is equal to 3 acres of deforested trees. It makes concrete. Concrete's a gypsum-based. Hempcrete is cellulose-based. It is a pesticide-resistant while it grows, herbicide-resistant while it grows, no pesticide, herbicide runoff, thereby no cancer, no poisoning of the water. The hempcrete is mold-resistant, water-resistant, ice-resistant.
Wow.
It solidifies mixed with lime and water, and it's 10 times stronger than steel. I mean, they say a lot of these buildings are, tornado-proof, and all the original countries like Germany, Ireland, Scotland, and England, many of those houses were stone and hemp.
Wow.
In Europe, it was never ostracized and vilified. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but the conspiracy is not a conspiracy. It's history. William Randolph Hearst, which was timber, and also owned all the newspapers, best friend, crony, Henry Anslinger, which was fuel, and Lamar DuPont, plastic. The 3 of them were cronies, billionaires of the time, which is in a 10 times larger scale what's occurring to the planet and predominantly the Americas now.
Yeah.
They were the ones ruling it then, and they got marijuana vilified and industrial hemp, its cousin, which makes oil, plastic, gasoline, paper, and concrete.
You're amazing. You know all of this stuff about hemp, but I have to ask, what drives you? I mean, you're like one of the best publicists I know.
I became literally obsessed with industrial hemp, and like I was saying, I don't know if I did say this, Hempsters Plant the Seed, our first film, Michael and I's film together. I have a different team I'm working with now just because of logistics, and Michael and I have known each other for 30 years, and he's doing some incredible work now with hydrogen and other things, but I am obsessed with hemp, and I wrote Hemp, the Rebirth of Mother Earth, which was Hempsters Plant the Seeds' original title, and put the whole thing together and brought him in on the deal, and we developed it together with some amazing people, but it was a 14-year. Like, Michael, we got to stop. We've got enough to educate the world with. Miraculously, we brought Gatewood Galbraith, brought in Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson brought in Mr. Merle Haggard. We have Julia Butterfly Hill living in the sequoia tree. We hoisted the camera up, Craig Lee and Michael. Many, many times I was unable to be on my own sets. I was there for most all the Woody footage and Willie Nelson and strategic things, but there were so many things occurring over the 14 years, and I was focusing on raising the money. And we literally sold points at $5,000 and $10,000.
Wow.
I raised like $700,000 over
Wow.
14 years. Every time I needed to have a camera crew, I'd have maybe a week to do it. I don't know, Kate. Once you become what drives me, but it's sort of like my child, and I had some heartbreaks, a couple over the years, loss of two children. So I do consider this film and this movement to be my child. I mean, it would be 20 years old this year. So.
Well, you've worked with a lot of influential people. You know, you've named Michael Henning and Willie Nelson and Woody. And who of anyone, famous or not famous, who had the biggest influence on the work that you do?
You know, I'm Woody Harrelson. I knew Woody. My best friend Robin had this cafe in Santa Monica, and I worked for her back when I was an actress in the late 80s, early 90s. And he was a customer of ours, and he's. I was in White Men Can't Jump. Actually, I was I was an extra. Then I got bumped up, they call it, to a featured extra, and then I got cast to double Kim Basinger. But I actually met Woody back then on the set, and Woody was he was young then, everybody was, and just such a gregarious and such a charming, and from Texas, we had a lot in common. I didn't really know him that well, except he was just really wonderful to me on the set, and he had a rap party and a birthday party at his house in Malibu, and I was at both of those, of course. And fast forward years later, you know, he plants the 4 hemp seeds, and I would have to say that Woody Harrelson has influenced my life the most on the celebrity side, and then on the non-celebrity, but I consider them to be celebrities, are my mom and dad, because they have been the most fighting and advocacy. And when I listen to my 75-year-old father give a verbatim speech about industrial hemp to a naysaying Republican millionaire, and my dad was a millionaire as well, but an environmental Republican, if there is such a thing. But my dad is one, and I listened to my dad educate in basically hemp bitch slap this Republican naysayer, and my dad very patiently told him the myriad of things that hemp does for the environment, the economy. I mean, it covers all the gamuts, and I've never been prouder in my life.
So you've been in the industry 20 years. You're absolutely amazing. You've got a lot going on. You've done these Hempster films. Tell me where you are in the Hempsters process and what you've got coming up. I have so many more questions, but I do want to bring that up.
Okay, so where we are right now is I have 8 films in the Hempsters series, the brand. So Hempsters Plant the Seed was the fight to legalize industrial hemp, and now it's slowly becoming legal everywhere. So my second and third film are being shot in tandem. I just pitched to ArcView for $2 million, hoping to be chosen to be on stage in Austin May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. I went through the entire process and scored in the top 5, and right now pitching for $2 million for the second and third film, which are focused solely now on hemp entrepreneurs, farmers, scientists, celebrities, and the products. Because I followed the fight, now I'm going to show what hemp makes. I actually jumped straight out of the gate producing the Hemp House Build with Greg Flaval and Dave Madera of Hemp Technologies, and it's on my YouTube channel. That one, Dave, sadly, we lost him to cancer, and Discovery Channel. It was in the pitching process and being reviewed by Discovery when he passed away. I jumped right into hemp home building, featuring them. So I realized there was so much to tell, Kate. I made 7 follow-up documentaries from Hempsters World, Hempsters Indigenous Nations. I've added 3 marijuana documentaries, The American Pot Farmer, The Canadian Pot Farmer, and Hempsters Miracle Medicine, solely about cannabis CBD. So I've now been a cannabis advocate for many, many years, and also recreational and medicinal. Myself, I love marijuana. I don't really smoke except for medicinal purposes now, just because it's 10,000 times stronger than it was, but I love it. I believe in it. It's changing lives. It's in the economy. It's a wonderful place to be. It's an astonishing plant, hemp and marijuana.
So as a woman in the industry, how has your work been received by a mostly male cannabis industry?
Okay, that's a documentary all its own, sister.
Okay, let's go to the next question.
Let me give give you the update, though, I am currently on my second tour with founder of Renew Sports Cars, Bruce Michael Dietzen, who I'd love for you to have a guest on this wonderful show. Bruce created the first hemp car since Henry Ford Sr., which I didn't tell in the original story, but Henry Ford and the famous African-American scientist George Washington Carver, who, by the way, most people do not know, was eunuched at the time because he was such a smart and powerful scientist. They feared his manhood. Okay, that's
Get out of town.
George Washington Carver and Henry Ford Sr. made an entirely cellulose-based car called the hemp car, but it was actually made from hemp, soybean, and flax. All cellulose, all green, zero carbon footprint. The Renew Sports Car now has a neutral carbon footprint. And when you talk to Bruce, who's a brilliant educator on all things hemp and carbon, the next hemp car will be like Henry Ford's car. But that car is 10 times stronger than steel and literally has no carbon footprint, and it ran on all cellulose-based hemp biofuel. I mean, these two guys were way ahead of their time. The car was driven underground, and very grainy footage and only brief little excerpts even remain. I mean, this industrial hemp is not that marijuana is not incredible, and I love it, and the medicine cures cancer, which it does, Parkinson's, epilepsy, MS, and all that.
Yeah.
Its cousin, industrial hemp, makes oil, paper, timber, gasoline, plastic, all the most fucked up things, can I say that? Horrible things going on in the world today are based on petroleum, coal, the raping of Mother Earth. We have a chance right now with industrial hemp to reverse climate change, global warming, in conjunction with many other solar energy, all these amazing organic wind energy. I mean, if we do not stop what we are doing, there will be nothing left. When the bees start dying like they are, which are based on herbicides and pesticides, on all these GMO crazy-ass crops, most people do not know that bees pollinate over 2/3 of all life on Earth.
Wow.
Thousands of trees are going to die, thousands of plants, and thousands of food, which means us. If the bees dies, we're going to die.
Right.
It's a fact.
Wow. That's an amazing summary about the cannabis industry there, and it can be so easily reversed just by cultivating and employing hemp, whether it's industrial hemp or medicinal hemp or marijuana or any of that. It's just or agricultural hemp. Absolutely. So what advice as a filmmaker would you give to aspiring filmmakers that are also passionate about cannabis?
I would say to them, never give up, and reach out to your mentor, other filmmakers. I mean, I've worked with and collaborated with. The first thing I did was reach out to an amazing woman filmmaker, a couple of them, Carol Dean, get myself as close as I could to other female filmmakers to give me advice and for me to cry on their shoulder. There were many, many tears over the 19 years in industrial hemp, I can tell you that, because it's just such a battle to educate people, and it was a real miracle. Without Woody, Willie, and Merle and all the work they did, I mean, these men are mavericks for what they did themselves. And, you know, we got a distribution deal, and even though the Cinema Libre didn't have P&A funding, they're rated the #1 documentary distributor in the world. And Hemsters Plant the Seed is fast becoming a cult film. So it's been a tribe of people, and I don't consider myself to be the only one. I've worked with, hundreds of people and still am. I'm now working with multi-award-winning filmmakers out of New Jersey, Alternate Ending Studios, Zach Hagen, and director Jason Krasicek, and they worked with everyone from De Niro to James Franco. They just got a $3 million at South by Southwest for their next film, and they said no matter when we get the money, they're jumping in they've got the mobile van, we've got $2 million in equipment. I feel like this year I'm going to get them funded. I've been under contracts, Kate, back to back for 2 different groups for a year each.
Wow.
I was under a contract I couldn't get out of while they exhausted their opportunities to fund the films. And
you're an amazing go-getter, and I don't know anyone in the film industry that works as hard as you do or knows all the ins and outs from everything from pre-production all the way to publicity. You're amazing and have done amazing things and continue to do amazing things. Well, so tell me, where do we find you? Where are we going to look for you next? Is there contact information you'd like to share? What's going on? How can our listeners find you?
Okay, right now Bruce and I are looking for sponsorships still. We may get a big one this week and next for the 2017 U.S. tour. We just wrapped an A-list celebrity. I cannot talk about his name yet until I get clearance from CNBC, but I can tell you that he loves cars, and I posted it on Facebook.
I know who I'm thinking, and I'm not going to say the name, but I think everybody knows who he is.
Right, and we found out we air in June. That will be during Hemp History Week, so very fortuitous, and he's an amazing man, and we hope it's a game changer. We have Hempster's Cannabis Car TV launching on YouTube on Monday. We're on Facebook, Hempster's Cannabis Car Sustainability Tour. Bruce Michael Dietzen has his page, Diana Oliver, Thunderbird Productions, Renew Sports Cars, and then every film from Hempster's Plant the Seed and all 7. God, I have like 13 Facebook pages. I'm crazy.
So if somebody wanted to send you a message or to send you a check, what's your email address?
DianaThunderbird@hotmail.com. And I am accepting, we're looking at cannabis funding sponsors right now and any type, car aficionados, silent investors, but we have product signage. We're going to be at Northco Hempco this weekend, then Sensi VIP. The car is being featured out front. Bruce is on stage this year. He's up for a TED Talk.
Wow.
Howard Stern. He's in casting at Conan O'Brien. He's in review.
That cannabis car is going to be everywhere, thanks to you.
Right. And then I've got a string of A-list celebrities. The second I get this $20,000, $30,000, or $50,000 check, I can get 3 or 4 more A-list celebrities because I'm not going to put them in the car unless it's 100% first class.
Right.
My camera crew's there.
Right.
So paying for the tour, the cost, and the crew. So they can reach out on my Facebook private message or my email, or they can call you because you used to be my publicist and we miss you. But
You're sweet. So you're Diana Thunderbird at hotmail.com.
Yes.
And I want to thank you so much, Diana Oliver, producer and director of 8 Hempster's documentaries and the Cannabis Car television show, soon to launch on YouTube. I want to thank you again. If you have any questions for Diana, please feel free to reach out to her. Her email is dianathunderbird@hotmail.com. My name is Kate Mullen. I'm happy to be your host this time, and we look for you next time. Remember, you can find us on all social media, our website, cannabiscommunityproject.com. Look for us on Facebook, iTunes, Google+, Massroots, SoundCloud, Twitter, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn, Tumblr, and YouTube. We are everywhere. This is Kate Mullen filling in for Brainstorm. Hope you've enjoyed the show, and we will see you next week.
There you go, Cannapreneurs. Thank you for joining me this week. Make sure to come back next week. We'll be talking to even more guests from the industry, from the government, from the entrepreneur world. Make sure to reach out to us on all the social media, Massroots, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and any place else, all under the same name, cannabiscommunityproject.com. We'll see you next week.